From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on LALATE.
It's a big midday here on LALATE with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. As Bernie Sanders' office speaks out about this channel, and I'll have the incredible big message of support, as now you are helping get that recon over the finish line. We'll go over that incredible recon, which passed no less than 2 weeks ago on a Saturday night. Cluster number 1 passed. Hazard pay, $4,000 for elder care. Cluster number 2 passed. Home repairs and paid leave. Cluster number 3, seniors and free internet. All the items are staying in there, no reductions. So says the progressives, with the changes coming on the back end of duration and taxes. But I'll explain to you what Maxine Waters said today and what you saw last night, with her concern about one item, and it concerns rent. Oh boy, we'll be cutting over to the exciting details of the House members as they now have a date, October 31st, to have the vote for the recon. Oh boy, it's heating up. We have a debt ceiling limit deal attached to last night, where the senators go in, where the House members go in. Then we go to the big exciting details as more money is going out for rent, and one viewer got $6,000 this week. I'm going to show you where the path to financial independence is. It starts right here. So I'm going to show you how to get big money this weekend for rent, utilities, food, internet, mortgage assistance, clothing, appliances, and more. It's all third stimulus, because financial independence starts right here. The news starts right here, and noontime starts right now. Hey, good noontime, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day, and hope the weather where you are is great. It is cool along the coast here in Southern California. In this recording, we'll go over the incredible message from Bernie Sanders' office about your monthly IRS stimulus checks. Wow, we have a date for that recon vote. We have excitement about the support of the recon and why they're making changes on the back end, not the front end. But can they get that done? I'll explain all the details. A debt ceiling limit hatched overnight. New statements from Liz Warren today, and new statements from Maxine Waters. Then we'll be going over all these incredible clusters of checks that are happening, and moreover, the incredible details of that message from Bernie's office, and then how one viewer got big money by listening to my recordings in less than 7 days. I'm going to show you how you get this big money as well. And this is LALATE. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family where people are getting big sums of money daily, weekly on this channel. And I'll show you how to go into this weekend by getting money as well. Subscribe. Also like this video and consider becoming a member. Let's cut to the incredible details with that big message from Sanders' office. The Vermont Democratic and Independent Senator's office top aide spoke to a viewer of this channel yesterday, and here's what happened. Sanders' office aide told the viewer that through yesterday, Sanders' office has now received 1 million contacts from the people of LALATE and the Purple Power. The advocacy is making big waves, and this is the first time that many of these elected officials and their staff have truly heard from the people. And now that not only do they have heavy hearts, but feel a renewed sense of urgency to help get out to us so much help and so much good work. Our advocacy has been so strong, so heartfelt, and so polite, and they never have and you have never done it just for ourselves, but also the incredible community. There we go. The incredible details in this recording, and we're going to go over all that. But first, let's go to the $3.5 trillion recon. The $3.5 trillion recon passing in a House subcommittee no less than 2 weeks ago. And let's cut to cluster number 1 checks passed. Those are hazard pay and $4,000 for elder care. What is in this first cluster? Let's start with the hazard pay. They took the old earned income tax credit and broadened the eligibility and then increasing the payout. So those essential workers get more money every year. Then up to $4,000 a year to care for an elder person at home. Up to $4,000 to care for a young child. Then they got free money to repair the home in a low-income community. Wow. They got money in there also for $51,000 of monthly stimulus checks. The CTC, the child tax credit, broadened the eligibility and the amount of money. So up to $300 a month, every year, to up to 18 years. If that household is low income, that's $51,000 per child. They got money in there for college students, grants to the university, grants to the student, and also the Pell Grant made tax-free. And then they got money with electric bikes, electric cars and trucks, all U.S. Onion manufactured and all electric. First, up to 15% of the purchase price of a new electric bike, then up to $7,500 for a new electric car, if personal use, and a little bit more for business use, and if it's a truck. In a second, we go to the second cluster, checks. But first, a big surprise, as Maxine Waters yesterday issued a very strong message about trying to keep extra money in for stimulus for rent. There's money for rent and for stimulus. Yeah, it's coming up in just a second. But $13 billion for rent is now going out to cities and counties and states for you for rent under third stimulus. Treasury is happy to provide these additional state and local governments with the additional amount in times of need. I'm going to show you that one viewer who is absolutely incredible. Her name is Prina, and I told you to pounce to get that money. She got it in less than 7 days. Prina says, "Hey, LA, I want to thank you so much. When you mentioned the extra $13 billion going out to the states for the rent, I automatically pounced, and I emailed the city of Austin once again and informed them about what was going on and I would like more money." Wow. So she saw my message. She told them what it is, and she said, "I want it." So she continues to write. Last Thursday, they sent me the form to fill out, and the day before that, I got approved for November to January. That's $6,000 for 8 months of rent. Wow, that's incredible. Now let's cut to cluster number 2's checks in that $3.5 trillion recon. Home repairs and paid leave is in the second cluster of checks passed in that House Sub-Budget Committee 2 weeks ago. That recon has in there paid family leave and paid medical leave. How much is this? It's a lot. It's up to $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. If you make $35,000 a year, then it's $800 a week under third stimulus. $800 a week. If you make $15,000 a year, it's $400 a week. Paid family leave, you have to stay home because your wife is pregnant. Paid medical leave, you have to stay home because your son broke his leg. Remember, fourth stimulus recon has nothing to do with the pandemic, applies for everyone, and it's nationwide. They also got into the second cluster, weatherizing your home checks. Yes, the federal government will give you money, free money, to weatherize your home. Definitely needed if the moderate Democrats are on the roof. As I always say, keep those moderate Democrats out of the House, and if possible, keep them out of the Senate. There we go. They got checks in the second cluster also for household tax credits, child care programs, and checks for seniors like Medicare, dental, vision, and hearing. More about that in the third cluster. And they got free pre-kindergarten nationwide and free community college. Definitely needed to take that class called What the World is LATE Saying 101. It's for people that say I talk a strange language. Now you can be fluent in the foreign language. It's called Los Angeles. And it's called LA 202. Totally free at your local community college. Well, there you go. What is Congress doing? Congress is working on your recon all weekend long. Remember, a recon is done in subcommittees. It's not done on the floor of the House or the floor of the Senate. And so stay with me all weekend long because we have a lot of breaking news about what they're doing. Remember, they passed the recon on a Saturday night. Sheila Jackson was there. And guess what? Even though they're working all weekend long and they're working those subcommittees all next week, I fully expect that one channel is going to say they're not in town. They're not in session. Yeah, so Congress is not in session next week. House and Senate is not in session. That does not mean they're off to the equator. They're just down the hall in the subcommittees. Moreover, we now have a date. Well, Nancy believes, and so does the president, that the recon and the roads and bridges both will be called for a vote before Halloween. Now, let's say that again. They say that, not me. So if you come back to me the week before Halloween, say, LA, you don't look like a cow yet. Yeah, and also don't say, LA, hey, you said I'm getting a stimulus check by Halloween. I didn't say that. I said Nancy and the president say they're calling a vote on the RECON by Halloween is what they represent. Now, they will be back in session, the House, on October 12th to vote on the debt ceiling limit. Last night, the Senate passed the debt ceiling limit, but only to December. So only to December. So this House will vote on approval of it. It will become a law, and they're coming back one day, the House, on October 12th. Wow. The debt ceiling limit now is extended just for a couple more weeks. Let's cut to the third cluster of checks that are passed in that $3.5 trillion recon, and they are deliciousness. They are clusters for checks for seniors and checks for free internet. In cluster number 3, we have free school meals for all checks, cheaper prescription medication checks, checks for farmers, checks for free internet, checks for clean energy. We have checks for workers like independent contractors, checks for seniors like dental, vision, hearing, and lowering the eligibility age for Medicare. Someone asked me on the morning show, what age is it? I don't know, actually. That's a brilliant question. So that is your third cluster of checks. Now let's go over what that means for you, because in the month of July, the House and Senate made a law that the recon procedural is done, meaning there will be a recon, it will be 3.5. What are they doing right now? They're doing the recon substantive, and they're trying to agree upon how to spend the money. A recon substantive passed a House subcommittee 2 weeks ago. That's what you saw, cluster number 1, 2, and 3. But it's not a bill. It's not a bill, it's a package, and they can add stuff in. And that's what those Democrats have been saying to viewers of this channel over the last few weeks about that IRS stimulus check. It's important to understand how they do this and where we are. Number 1, we don't currently have a bill. Number 2, it's a package. They can add stuff in on the House side or on the Senate side. First, the House side. If it's AOC Omar or Jalapal, or, of course, Sheila Jackson, the vice chair of the Progressive Caucus on the House side, they can add it in to the House legislation, into the House package. But you have a backup, and the backup is perhaps the best backup you could have. The senators, who have all come forward and say they want to put in a IRS stimulus check. Casey, Coons, Warren, Sanders, Schumer, and guess what? They do it during a 2-day vote-a-rama, which appears at the very end of this whole process, a 2-day event in which they make amendments to whatever's given to them from the House. So they look at it and say, I got to change something here, folks. Then that's when they change it. And that vote-a-rama, what goes first, what hour it goes, is determined by one guy, the guy who determines the voting process. Who's that guy? Chuck Schumer. And what's the guy's name that this week and last week, his staff said, I'm putting in an IRS stimulus check? Chuck Schumer. Yeah, there's a person you won your corner, and that is a big win. Last week, Donnie's wife reached out to Schumer's office, and Schumer's office said it's going in there. And then we have also Debbie Applegate in the last 24 hours writing. I called Schumer and Sanders and Warren, Liz Warren, and they all said they're doing it. That's a big one for Schumer because, remember, he's the guy who puts it in there. In the second half of this video, we'll be going over all the dramatics of what's happening now with Bernie's office relying upon you and the nearly 1 million messages you have delivered. We'll go over what happens next for this IRS stimulus check path. We'll go over what's next for that recon with a date now proposed for the vote. We'll go over what's going on with third stimulus because financial freedom starts here. I'm going to show you how to get big sums of money, and that money starts right today, not in 3 weeks from now, right today. We got a lot coming up, and it's all coming up as we go into the second half of a big afternoon's LALATE. I'm so excited for you across the board, but we got a lot of news coming up. And the details start with what is the big money and how do you get this money for rent and utilities and food and internet. When you're looking at the money for rent, food, utilities, and internet, here is a little bit, and it's coming from the community page. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.lalate.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now, direct from Santa Monica, live from Santa Monica as Noontime LA continues. The weather's getting cool, but hope the weather is good where you are. Jump in the live chat and tell me where you're tuning in from. We got a lot coming up in the second half of this video. We'll be going over how they'll make modifications to the RECON on the back end, but not affect the front end. What Maxine Waters said about the situation, and also when we talk about rent, what that means for you. We'll be turning to that IRS stimulus check and more to the statements from Bernie and the other offices across the board. One person during the commercial break wrote, Melissa says, I can't get anything if you're actually working. Untrue. I'm going to show you all the big money under third stimulus that everyone can get, even if you're working. Rent has nothing to do with you working, nor does utilities, mortgage assistance, or any of the sums of money. We got a big, bold, beautiful second half of this video. I'm excited you're here. And with that, hit that subscribe button. Subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want your father's incredible family that's making history day in, day out. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Coming up next is Afternoons LA's 1 o'clock show. This video will automatically take you there. Then the brand new Afternoons LA at 3 o'clock, a brand new Evenings LA tonight at 5 o'clock, and then we got the new hit show, Evenings Countdown, at 6 o'clock, followed by Street and Stimulus, Sirloin, and shows 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11:30. Let's go to all the surprising details, and it starts right now with that big message that came in from Sanders' office overnight. You're hearing this for the first time at noontime. Sanders' office has been receiving your advocacy, and now a top aide, not a secretary, not a staffer, but a top aide to Senator Sanders' Washington, D.C. office reports that they are overwhelmed and ecstatic with all your advocacy and keep on bringing it on in. The aide said that through yesterday, they had received nearly 1 million contacts from the people of LA and Purple Power, and the advocacy is making big waves, meaning that the Senate offices of other senators are all talking about you and this channel. This is the first time that many of these elected officials and their staff have truly heard from the people, and now that they not only have heavy hearts, but a renewed sense of urgency to get through this good work. Our advocacy has been so strong, so heartfelt, and polite. It is also for a big community across the board. That is where we are going to today. It's important to understand how we got here and what this advocacy means. First, remember that when you're looking at a RECON, you have two places to make modifications to insert that stimulus check provision. You can do it on the House side or the Senate side. On the House side, you would amend it during the RECON drafting. And what we currently have is a massive RECON, $3.5 trillion, passed in that subcommittee 2 weeks ago, where they said it's not a bill. It's not a bill. You can add stuff to it. It's a package. But they can also modify it when it lands on the House side. Now, how did we get to this wonderful spot? Over the last 8 weeks, the viewers of this channel have been advocating, and their advocating has worked. It started 8 weeks ago when I said pick up the phone and advocate. And WR, a longtime viewer of this channel, picked up the phone and called Senator Chris Coons, Democrat in Delaware, and advocated. And Coons' office said to WR, it's going in there. Then, 3 weeks ago, I started to show you so much breaking news, so many exclusives, this channel was really picking up. I told you that I told you exclusively the House would write the legislation in a subcommittee. They did. You now see this is what Sheila Jackson wrote as the vice chair of the Progressives on the House side. I told you the House subcommittee would vote first. They did 2 weeks ago, passed the RECON. And I told you third that the Senate will vote last, and they will. And that Bernie Sanders is part of the equation, and very important part of the equation. He's the guy who got your $3.5 trillion RECON amount. Well, 3 weeks ago, he told press a pivotal quote. He said that unlike prior budget chairmen in the Senate, I like to get out amongst the people when I'm doing a RECON. That means he wants to hear from you. I said, pick up the phone and advocate. Pick up the phone and call Sanders' office and advocate for a stimulus. Brother Joshua did, Lynn Glenn did, and Margaret did. Now, if you're new to this channel, let me explain to you what advocacy is. And let me also explain what advocacy is not. Advocacy involves telling your story with a series of sentences that all end with periods, no question marks, that involve perhaps maybe your financial situation, maybe your business, maybe your medical situation. Everyone has a unique story, and that's what your story is. I need this money because I need this money because what's going on with my family, my church, my town. I need it because of my business. I need it because of my community. The person receiving the message may not live in your town, may not know your town, may not even know your state, but they can certainly understand a story. And when you tell a very impassioned story, that's what's impressive. And that's why Senate offices are now talking about this channel after 1 million messages from this channel's viewers, and talking about your advocacy because it has been so in-depth, so professional, and so respected. Now, let's go over what advocacy is not. Advocacy is not Dora the Check Explorer. Dora the Check Explorer calls up and only asks for things. Asking, am I getting a check? Is it in the bill? How much is it? When is it coming? Have you voted on it? When are you voted on it? No one wants to hear from Dora the Check Explorer. And let's remember, all the elected officials that have talked to the viewers of this channel or their staff have always used forward-speaking terms. Will be added, going to be added, will be added. So there's no reason to be Dora the Check Explorer for something that's going to happen in the future. No reason to call up and trying to look for something. That's not advocacy. Advocacy is what Brother Joshua, Lynn Glenn, and Margaret did 3 weeks ago. Brother Joshua is a 2020 volunteer to the community page and picked up the phone and advocated for himself, his family, his church, and the viewers of his channel. He's a 2020 volunteer to the community page and longtime Purple Hawk. And Sanders' office said yes, $1,000 to $1,300, 3 to 6 months, but Sanders' office needs to hear your support for it. That means he needs to hear your advocacy. And at that point, boy, did we see the messages start coming on in. You met Donnie's wife just a second ago? Well, here comes Donnie, because he was the first to hear my message to advocate behind Brother Joshua, and Donnie made the call. Let's see what Donnie wrote in his screen grab. Donnie wrote on the channel or in private message to me the following. I called Bernie Sanders and staff secretary, told her what I need. I need it to progress for my water and everything. And they said, yes, they're putting a forced stimulus check in there. Hurricane Tina picked up the phone and advocated and wrote, yes, they said they're putting it in there. Carolyn Smith wrote that I called Sanders' office. I told them people are losing their homes and what they got. And Sanders' office said, yes, it's going in there. Yaya wrote, she called Ronald Wyden's office and they're putting SS-200 in there. Advocacy took another form when we understood that suddenly we need to make several calls. Remember, we're not Dora the Check Explorer. We're just sending the message to as many people we can tell the message to. We're not calling up to ask a question. We're just calling up to tell our story. And as many places we can tell the story to, we will. And that's what Will did. Will called up Bernie, Liz, and Chuck Schumer. And I explained my situation, Will writes, and how each check would make a huge difference. And all three of their secretaries confirmed it's going in there. Liz Warren's office said $1,400 to $2,000, 6 to 12 months. There's Lorica. She picked up a phone call Bob Casey's office and advocated. At that point, viewers were told after they advocated that Sanders, Schumer's, Casey, Warren, Coons, and Winans offices will be putting it in there. Their advocacy resulted in no less than 1,000 viewers this channel, making nearly 1 million messages to those legislators to advocate and being told it's going in there. Then I said, well, you can also do the House side. Remember, the House members can put it in there as much as the senators can. Call AOC Omar, Jalapal, Sheila Jackson, a new name on the list. And that's what Janice did. Bless her soul. She makes so many calls. She called Omar's office. They confirmed the same. She also called Jalapal's. And here's what she wrote going in there. Mark making the call to Pelosi's office. Pelosi's office confirming to Mark, says Mark, going in there after Mark advocated for that money. And Pelosi's office saying it would be 6 to 12 months, $1,000 after the first month. And here comes Debbie. You met Mark himself. Excuse me, you met Donnie. Well, Donnie's wife made the phone call to Chuck Schumer's office last week, and here's Debbie yesterday. I called Schumer and was told it's going in there. She also got the same message from Warren and Sanders. And there you go. What's important to understand is when you're looking at this recon, it is a package. They can add it in there, and they will continue to add it in there. Now, let's go over how modifications of the recon are unfolding right today. They solved the debt ceiling limit yesterday in the Senate, calling for a vote on the House. That's going forward. So what about the vote on the recon? Pelosi and the president claim that they're going to call the vote on the recon and the bipartisan no later than Halloween. Again, their representation, not mine. So what did Maxine Waters say yesterday? If you remember this channel, you got the PDF that Maxine Waters sent out. Unbeknownst to me, I can't catch it all. There is an additional 300, every time I say it, I got to look at it again because it just shocks me, an additional $300 billion in there for rent. Now, Maxine Waters is worried, meaning $300 billion already in the recon that passed for rent. Now, Maxine Waters is worried they're going to cut that number. Let's look at third stimulus, by example. Third stimulus had $46 billion for rent. Wow. So Maxine Waters wrote a letter yesterday saying, don't cut anything. And here's a very fascinating quote today from Lisa Rice, President and CEO of the National Fair Housing Alliance, says, all the coalitions of industry groups are beating down the door of the White House to make sure their provisions stay in the recon. So now let's look at how they make changes to the recon and where they don't make changes to the recon. All the items are staying in. Nothing is being reduced, says the progressives. More about that in a second. And what gets changed is the duration or the tax part. Let me explain all those details. We're going to go over all that starting right now. The progressives, which are on the Senate and the House side, Bernie, Liz, Chuck, AOC, Omar, Jalapal, Sheila Jackson, all say whatever passed in that recon is staying in the recon. We're not taking out a program, and we're not reducing how much the program pays you. So, for example, up to $4,000 a year to care for an elder at home, staying in there. And it's not getting reduced to $200. So that is what their position is at the moment. But obviously, the statement from Maxine Waters, who's in a way a progressive as well, suggests that everyone's always concerned that their particular program may get modified. Now, let's look at the back end. The back end is where they will modify without modifying your money. Here's where another exclusive came out. Earlier this week, I told you there's a way to modify and keep your money the same, and that they could do it. And I said, it's duration of the program. And guess what? And 24 hours later, Jalapal came out and said, we can keep your money the same by changing the duration. Yeah, another exclusive confirmed on this channel. So how does this work? And why was I able to predict it? It was no big difficult thing to predict. The way I was able to predict it is because this is what Bernie did back in July. Back in July, before we had any recon substantive, before we had any recon procedural, Bernie went to meet with the senators, every senator, including those two Democrats, for 2 meetings to agree upon a recon price tag. He went in asking for $7 trillion. They said, no, not doing 7 trillion, too much. Let's do 3.5. Let's do another number. He said 3.5, exactly half the amount of money. He walked out ecstatic, saying he got all his programs paid at 100%. But wait a second, it sounds like it's half the amount of money for the programs. No, here is an example. Let's use, just for example, the $4,000 for care for the elderly. Bernie may have gone into the means and asked 20 years for the program, but instead asked for the program to run for 10 years, half the duration. It becomes half the price tag, but it's still up to $4,000 a year. And it's still every year. Instead of 10 years, for example, instead of 20 years, for example, it's 10 years. So what is Jalapal speaking about? Exactly what I said they could do. Instead of potentially, let's say, for example, 10 years, they can go, for example, 7 years. I'm just using numbers for example. If you run the same program for 7 years instead of 10 years, suddenly, wow, you've cut the program spending on the program by 30%. You're still going to get up to $4,000 a year to care for the elderly under the example I'm using for 7 years, just not for 10 years. Now, Jalapal has a big surprise, which I never thought of, which is if you run it for 7 years, it's going to be very, very easy to do an extension after that because people are going to see how good the program is. And if you've been with this channel for the last year, you see that Congress loves extending things. It's easy to extend things. It takes 10 seconds to extend things, as opposed to just writing a new bill. All right, now let's do the back end across the board, which is the tax part. The tax part can get changes as well. This is a little strange, and there's a new article out about this today. The tax changes on the back end are the following. First, the programs are being paid for by raising corporate taxes and raising wealth tax. Well, what did the article talk about today? The article talked about that, well, the reason why they want to raise, for example, the corporate tax rate is they think that, and make changes to corporate taxes, is they think that certain corporations are not paying their fair share in taxes. So they don't want to not do the program, not change the tax code, because I would say, okay, just don't do what you're doing and continue doing the incorrect thing going forward. They want to fix these things for the code. So there's a strange sort of dichotomy working at the moment. Now, for example, I've always said that they're going to go to 25%. The president, I think he wanted a 28% corporate tax rate. I think it's like something like 23% right now. I can never remember the number. And Joe Manchin wanted 25. I thought 25 was good. No one thought that these high rate numbers would be done. So if you bring it, for example, from 28 to 25, that's a huge cut of the recon right there on the back end. And you can do it by bringing the money in from another source. And there you go. More about that in a second. But now let's turn to the big exciting details of third stimulus. It's going in the weekend. It's the weekend. And guess what? I'm going to show you how to get money right now because financial independence starts right now on this channel. I want you to start this week and end this week with new money because you watched a video on this channel. I'm going to get you money for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, SNAP. I'm going to get you clothing, money potentially for clothing, for food, for potentially appliances, and maybe even holiday gifts. We're going to go over all these sums of money right now. It's for everyone. It's for SSI and SSDI. It's for working people. It's for non-working people. It's for homeless people. It's for non-homeless people. So get that pen, paper, and cell phone ready starting right now. First, we're going to go over the money for rent. 6 places I'm going to show you to reach out to. Each place has different pots of money. They also have different eligibility. If one says no, reach out to the next. Listen to the keywords I say in this video, and finally, get ready for those non-profits. Here are the 6 places you're going to reach out to. Your city hall, your city house authority. Your county hall, your county house authority. Your state hall, and your state house authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. Now, if you remember this channel, the newsletter, which comes out Monday through Friday, has in there now that Treasury statement about the $13 billion. Do exactly like what I said all last week and all this week, and what that one viewer did when she followed my advice, Prina, read the information about the $13 billion before you make the call. Because guess what? They got the money. They may act silly like they don't know what you're talking about. When you get the information, you call it up, then they're going to know exactly what you're referring to and get that money for rent. Next, utilities. Reach out to all utility companies. So if you have 5, reach out to 5. Then the nonprofits. Wow, what a success story. First, remember the nonprofits pay for all the items generally that are in third stimulus, just with different eligibility. So if you have an eligibility problem, reach out to the nonprofits. Here are the 5 nonprofits, also featured in the newsletter: United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, and St. Vincent de Paul. Next, it's important to remember that the nonprofits pay for other items that are not in third stimulus. For example, they'll pay sometimes for homeless people into shelters. They'll pay for clothing sometimes. They'll sometimes pay for small home repairs. One viewer got her window fixed. And they'll sometimes pay for small appliances. 2 viewers got refrigerators and another got her furnace fixed. They'll also help with mortgages and other things like that. So here again are the 5 nonprofits: United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, and St. Vincent de Paul. Next, SNAP. Get SNAP. SNAP is money for food. You get it from Department of Agriculture. Eligibility is easier than a stimulus check. And boy, I can't believe that I'm getting some families $26,000 a year because I made videos. It's just incredible. Yes, I have a lot of viewers who are getting over $20,000 a year for SNAP. Remember, the rent, I'm getting people over $40,000 of rent now. Utilities, people are getting $15,000 of rent for utilities from this channel. And when we talk about SNAP, they're getting over $26,000. First, everyone's benefits are going up lifetime, automatically, starting in this month. 25% lifetime. So watch for that automatic increase. It's coming. Next, we go to those 2 unemployment benefits checks that are coming back from the state and for a second from the federal government. First, due to overpayment of computer error on your state, it's coming back. Average payment is about $2,000 to $5,000. Reach out to your state to track it. And then that refund check from IRS for that 2020 tax return that you paid taxes on the unemployment benefits. Average payment is about $1,200 to $2,000. Margaret got it, Todd got it, Michael got it. If you got in any sums of money, post them in the live chat. Some of the shows I've been jumping in the evenings, make sure you post your success stories. I know not a lot have been doing it. Make sure you post success stories, because when you do, you inspire other people to get these sums of money. Finally, if you haven't become a member, consider becoming a member. The link is under the video. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Casino VIP. You're delivered the newsletter daily, which features all the big money you can get from this channel. From first, second, and third stimulus, all the big money you can get as detailed on this channel. It's important to understand that viewers have found the financial freedom, and you should as well. Viewers are getting, like Mark, $51,000, Johnny, $80,000, Mark's 2 friends and family members, $100,000, Johnny's $100,000, Lorraine, $110,000. Viewers routinely are getting monies and multiple sums of money. So I want you to get that money and find the financial freedom. Remember, financial freedom involves the following: getting as much money as you can. We don't care what the money is called, so long as it's green and it's a lot of it. So long as it's big dollar bills, we don't care what it is. Financial freedom starts today. Just like how Johnny started one week with 0, watched this channel, and ended the week with 80,000. I want that to be you. If you've gotten 1 or 2 or 3 items from this channel, get more items. Finally, as we go into a week, as we celebrate another weekend, make yourself 3 promises. 1, I want you to get rent, utilities, and these items as far into 2022 as possible. Just like the viewer out of Austin heard my message, she got into 2022. Remember, you can apply it multiple places, and you can get items for the same, you can get paid for the same item from different places, so long as it does not conflict in any way. Number 2, get as much money as fast as you can get it, because a lot of these programs won't have money indefinitely. And number 3, lean on the nonprofits. The nonprofits are not getting a lot of calls right now. Big praises are going out to St. Vincent de Paul and United Way for quick turnaround times, because it's still not winter outside. When it becomes winter, they get a lot of calls and they don't respond quickly. So lean on those nonprofits and get as many items as you can across the board. Finally, let's go over what to anticipate later today on afternoons and evenings. We got a new show at 3 o'clock, and that new Afternoons LA goes a little bit more in depth about what's going on with this modification of the RECON on the backside. It's important to understand that they're working on this weekend. You are not going to see them on the House floor. You're not going to see them on the Senate floor. You're going to see them working behind the scenes in those subcommittees, not live streaming themselves, but covered on this channel of all the details of what unfolds all this weekend. We just have a few days before that potential vote, so now is the time to push. Second, we have a lot coming up more about those incredible, great comments from Bernie Sanders, as no less than 1 million of you have now reached out and advocated, and all your advocacy is working. So keep on doing it. So much across the board. And with that, I'm so excited you joined me, and I look forward to seeing you next on the 1 o'clock afternoons LA. So subscribe. With 400,000 subscribers on YouTube record, hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk for Rabauer Calcino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused. Have a beautiful afternoon. I'll see you next on Afternoons LA.